Okay, CC students, we're going to talk about who are the parties to the case and what does that mean. Well, do you remember I told you that a trial involved two or more people who have a disagreement and they bring that disagreement before a judge to have them resolve their disagreement? Well, the parties to the case are the actual people involved in the case, the people with a vested interest in the outcome of a case. So let's start with a civil case. Remember I said a civil case is where one person brings a case against another. The government's not involved in this case. This is a civil case. And I use the car accident as an example. Well, the person, and we'll stay with the car accident just for simplicity. The person who's been injured, who says they were hurt in a car accident, we call them the plaintiff. So this person over here has been hurt in a car accident. They're the plaintiff. The person that they're alleging caused them harm in the car accident. Remember I said that person who intentionally rams their car into somebody else? We call that person a defendant. This is the person who did something wrong. So we have the injured person as the plaintiff, they're a party, and the hurt person, or the person that allegedly hurt them, is the defendant. Plaintiff versus defendant. We also bring in another mix into the parties of the case. We have attorneys, and this is important for your mock trial, that represent the individuals in the court. So in the civil side, we have what we call plaintiff's attorney. The plaintiff's attorney is hired to represent the plaintiff to say, these are the reasons why this person should have be found to be responsible for this allegation that they hurt my client. So it's a plaintiff's attorney. We also have what we call defense attorneys. And a defense attorney represents the defendant, and their job is to say that the defendant is not responsible for this behavior. The defendant didn't cause this harm to the plaintiff. So we have, in the court system, we have the one side, we have the plaintiff versus the defendant. At its heart, we still have a one person, the injured person, bringing the case against the person who allegedly hurt them. But now we've interjected attorneys involved in this process, and that's important for the mock trial. So if your mock trial is a civil case, you would have somebody playing the role of a plaintiff's attorney, and you would have somebody playing the role of a defendant's attorney. On the criminal side, it gets a little more complicated, but nothing that you can't handle. We don't have a true plaintiff anymore. We have collectively the people are the ones who the crime is against. Sometimes we have victims in criminal cases where somebody's been injured, and we have maybe somebody who's been murdered. They're the victim. But we speak on behalf of the victim collectively as a society. So we have, remember I told you, we have in a criminal justice system, we have laws that were passed by the people. And now the people collectively are saying, hey, this person broke the law. So the people bring the case. A little bit different than a plaintiff bringing the case. The people are now bringing the case against, just like in the civil side and the criminal side, against one defendant. So the defendant is same in a civil case. This is the person accused, as it is in a criminal case. But instead of a person bringing the case, the government, the people are bringing the case. That's the role. So who do we ask for in a criminal case to bring the case on behalf of the people? We can't all go into court and say, Joe did this. Joe murdered Sue. So who do we ask to do that? We ask a prosecuting attorney to do that. That's the prosecutor. They represent all of us collectively. So the prosecutor, on behalf of the people, brings the case, the prosecuting attorney, against the defendant. Now, the defendant doesn't sit there by themselves, just like in a civil case. In a criminal case, the defendant has a defense attorney, and the defense attorney represents the defendant. So if your mock trial is a criminal case, you're going to have somebody play the role of a prosecutor, and their job is to represent collectively society in an allegation that the defendant broke some law. You're also on the other side going to have roles of people playing the role as defense attorney representing a defendant. And their job is to make arguments to argue on behalf. So from here on out, when we talk about the roles of attorneys, the criminal case, it's going to be the prosecutor representing the people against the defendant, and you're going to have defense attorneys representing the defendant who's been accused of a crime, if this is a mock trial. One other thing that I'll talk about in this video, what's up with this? Now, from time to time, you're going to see I use these symbols. This is for plaintiff, and the delta is for defendant. Sometimes in my shorthand, I'll try not to do it, but if you see me ever go like that or like that, why did I throw that symbol in there? That means plaintiff, that means defendant. I try not to do that too often, but once in a while I throw that in there. That's what that means. Those are the parties to a case. So that is a brief summary of the parties. Not all the participants in a case, but the parties, the two or more people. We have the plaintiff and defendant in a civil case, prosecutor, defendant in a criminal case. Those are the parties to the case.